today? I hope you're doing well. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. In case you're wondering why I'm wearing the tie, it's because I'm about to start teaching my class in a minute. I'm meeting my students in our class on how to invest in the stock market. What's going on, Simone? How are you, sisters? Wonderful to see you. And it's K Darby and New Patty and a whole lot of other black people. What's happening? Everybody. We love you too. Shark Fin says we love you. I love you, Shark Fin. I love you more. No, I love you more. No, I love you more. All right. Anyway, um, as you can see, I'm in a much more lighthearted mood since I had my Facebook ban. I think it's day 4. I'm losing track of the days. You know, when brothers get locked away, you lose a sense of space and time. You're waiting for people to put money on your books. I'm trying not to drop the soap. You know, I'm being silly. I'm being stupid. But anyway, yeah, I've been in Facebook jail for 4 days, and I've never been happier. I have never been more relaxed in terms of realizing what social media does to us in terms of the stress. You know, my problem was that too many people were able to reach me directly on Facebook, and it made it very hard for me to stay balanced and keep focused, because I would always have all these messages popping up on the phone, and I didn't realize how much time I was wasting on that. I've been much more productive and much more creative. You know, I started to delegate tasks to other people and be like, oh, but I can't do it because I can't get on Facebook, so why don't you do it? And I learned that lesson actually as an entrepreneur over time, because a lot of us feel if we're ambitious people, we want to do it all ourselves, because you do it all yourself because you want it to be done right? And I realized, like, you know what, some stuff I got to let other people worry about. So I went ahead and just was like, man, y'all do it. I don't care. But here's the crazy part, right? This is crazy. Facebook is banning everybody. I mean, I don't know if it's just people on my team, but I've talked to about 10 or 12 people, black people, and they are all getting banned from Facebook. Like a whole bunch of them. Now, a lot of them are connected to me, so maybe I'm the virus, right? Some of them were admins on my page. Some of them weren't. In fact, a few of them weren't, and they literally were like, everybody's like, I'm like, so are you banned from Facebook? Yeah. Did Facebook ban you recently? Yeah. How long? 24 hours, 3 days, 30 days, a week. And and I'm gonna tell you the truth, it's actually getting to be a little bit irritating. It's actually getting a little bit what's the word? Insulting. It's insulting, it's degrading that they treat you like a child. And so I'm kind of getting a little bit pissed off and irritated by this idea that you've got this company that pretty much kills your freedom of speech, pretty much won't let you say, because y'all know me. I mean, I'm not going to be sharing pictures of my penis or saying I want to go murder everybody on my page. I don't say that. Now I might say, hey, you know what, if you look at European history, white Americans are among the most brutal, most savage people in the history of the world, and that's a fact. That's true. But even I don't say stuff like that often. But I will share articles. Now, if you want to know what got me banned, it was an article I shared that was on this game called Hit the Coon they used to play at the state fair. At the state fair, they used to throw baseballs at black people's heads, and they called it Hit the Coon. And that was a fact, right? And Facebook banned me for 30 days for sharing that article. But the funny thing was, since that day, every day when I try to log in just to see what's going on, something else, another notification will pop up about something we literally published 4 years ago. It's the craziest thing. And so I think something weird has happened here, and I can't do anything. Let me see here. We got a troll. Let me get rid of the troll. All right. Here we go. Hold on. All right. So you gone. Troll has been murdered. Troll has been eliminated. Look at me. I'm acting like Facebook right now. I'm like purging. Troll, get the fuck out of here, troll. Anyway, let me quit. See, corruption breeds corruption, right? Evil breeds evil. But anyway, so it's funny. The trolls are like roaches. Anybody else grow up in a house with roaches in it? Don't be ashamed. Go ahead and tell the truth. Yeah, we had a couple little bugaboos in the house. Roaches didn't bother me because I would see them all the time. Just don't crawl on my cereal or nothing. Or like if I had a roach in my mouth, that'd be kind of gross. But beyond that, you just flick it away or kill it, right? And so anyway, killing trolls and getting rid of trolls is like killing roaches. Like I literally feel the way I used to feel when I kill roaches. But somebody asked, can we sue? I think we might. I think that might be actually a good way to make a statement. I'm not one to beg white folks to let us on their platform. We got other things we could do. Plus, there's actually black social media platforms out here. Tariq Nasheed has more us. I heard of something called Black Spot, BLAQ Spot. And I'm thinking about checking that out. I just gotta check and see which one is gonna work the best. Because I had people say, well, why don't we just build one? Let's just build one and make it work. But I don't want to build one. I'd rather also have, or if I had something that was social media oriented, I want to be focused on wealth building and investing. One of the things that that I really think I could convince black people to do is to consider joining me in like maybe a $2 a day campaign where we all get like this. We choose an investing app. We all download the app. It doesn't have to be my app. It could be, Stash or something like that. And we all agree that every day we're going to put $2 a day into the stock market. And I'm the professor. I'm the one that can do the math and show you how much money you'd have in 20 years or 30 years by investing $2 a day. And if you want to do more, it could be 5, 10, 15, 20, because that's what I want to do. I want to get black people to be in that percentage of Americans who are investing in the stock market, because that's really where the wealth has been created. That's where the money's at. I was doing research for my students in our stock market class, and I was looking at the percentage of stock market participation, and to my surprise, it went down. It was actually 2/3 in '07, and it's dropped to maybe 52% or maybe even 48%. And I was like, why would people like stop investing? Like, I don't understand that. Once I got in, I didn't want to leave, And I think that it was because of the crash. The '08 crash scared people, and they ran away. And what they missed, here's the problem. Here's what they missed. They missed the fact that when the market crashes, it comes back up. It usually comes back up. And there's so much money that was made. Since Obama got elected in '08, when the economy was in the toilet, a shit ton of money has been made. Trillions of dollars have been made. Most of that money goes to the 1% because they're thinking financially. People that tend to have money are the ones who are thinking about money. Just like, think about like sex, right? You ever know that guy where all he thinks about is sex? All he thinks about is pleasing the ladies. All he thinks about is what the ladies want to see and how he's supposed to look and how to holler at a girl, and he takes classes on it. Well, who do you think is going to be having the most sex? Usually him, if he does it right, right? So the same thing is true with money. People who talk about money with their family, who study money and understand money, are the ones who are going to be near the money and get the money because they know where the money's at. Right? Or like women, or the gold diggers. They have the term gold diggers. I have a very mixed theory when it comes to gold. I know somebody said that's a terrible analogy. I know it is, but y'all know it's right. You know it's true. You get good at what you work at. If you love sports, you love basketball, and you got a basketball in your hand everywhere you go, you're going to be the best basketball player. Well, same thing is true when it comes to building wealth. People who talk about it, people who talk about business, people who talk about ownership, entrepreneurship, where that's just their train of thought every day, money it's like a magnet to them. It just comes in. People who think about coonery, who think about ratchet stuff, violence and thugging and gangbanging and whatever. Then what happens to them? They attract bullets. They attract drama. They attract fights. They attract chaos. Right? Even Tupac, before Tupac died, love Tupac, but before Tupac died, everybody knew Tupac was going to die. It's not normal when you look at a 24-year-old and you're thinking, okay, he'll probably be dead in a couple years. People felt that way. Everybody I know in that era was like, yeah, man, Pac won't be dead soon. And that's kind of what happened, because Pac was putting an energy out that was attracting drama and chaos. Now, of course, the white man facilitated that. They built up that East Coast, West Coast beef. And made it into this thing in the media. And you have black people who had never had a chance to be respected, had never had a chance to be famous, never had a chance to have money, who were pretty much cooning for the white-owned media that were using our very real situation for their entertainment to sell their magazines. So they kept pushing this beef on. And we were like, oh, well, they're giving me money and they're paying attention to me if I act like a thug, so let the minstrel show continue. I'm going to continue to thug out as hard as I can so that those white people will come and take pictures of me. Next thing you know, some people end up dead. That's why it's important for black people to own media, because you need to have people that have a double bottom line when it comes to how a business is run. You can't have pure hardcore capitalists that are influencing the actions of millions of people, because all they're going to think about is the money. They're not thinking about the consequences, because basically in their mind, it's like, well, heads I win, tails you lose, meaning I'm going to get the benefits, but I get none of the costs. I get none of the consequences, none of the responsibility. And that's why black people have to think about how music sort of affects us. We get all the garbage that comes with the music and all the negative outcomes in terms of little kids' habits and all that, but we don't get the money. White people get the money. Then they go to the suburbs because they don't rob you. They appropriated your culture and all this other stuff. All right. So if you're interested in our programs, I always want to mention this so you can one day come over to the Come over to the bright side. Come over to the light. You can sign up at blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's where you can sign up for our investing program. And also, don't forget, we have our financial flashcards for children, where you can teach your child or your relatives all about money and all about wealth. I created these cards just for Black people, and they are the coolest thing in the world. Everybody, I got an email 30 seconds ago from a mother that told me she loved, not 30 seconds before I started recording, where she was talking about how much her child loved the cards because it makes it simple. And one of the things I believe is that if, like, this is annual report, and then it has a definition on the annual report. This is interest, and on the back there's a definition of what interest is. And I like associating Black people with money and with wealth and with economic intelligence. Not because I want us to be materialistic. Money's not meant to be material. Anybody who thinks money is a vehicle for excessive materialism doesn't understand money. Oh, somebody said, I got mine today. Good. Tell me if you like it. Tell me if you like it. The flashcards, by the way, before I forget, I'll give you the URL. Write this down, financialflashcards.com. That's financialflashcards.com. So you can go check out a pack for your kids or for your family. The adults use them too. But the thing is that with money, people think money is like sort of this pathway to materialism and excess. I don't believe that at all. I don't judge you if you want nice stuff. That's the thing. I've changed my positions over the years. One position I used to have was that everybody should go to college. Now my position is everybody should be educated. College might be the way to do that, but you should be educated to learn how to do the thing you need to know how to do. And sometimes getting an education in a university puts you deep in debt, but does not teach you how to achieve the goal of obtaining financial security. I did a video today about the fact that there are 35,000 college professors in this country that are on food stamps. 35,000 people with PhDs that are on food stamps. And and that's crazy, right? And there was a video I saw with a poor Black lady. She was a Black lady on the video. It was some white liberal stuff, but they picked a Black woman. And she was a single mom, and she had a doctorate. And she was like, I'm just so stunned. I thought that if I got an education, I'd have financial security. And I said, wow, I feel bad for her because nobody explained to her that financial security does not inherently come just because you have an education. There's nothing inherently connected to being educated that automatically leads to financial security. I mean, there's nothing inherently connected to the idea of going to school that leads to you being able to actually make the money that you want to make. Now, I'm not saying everybody should chase money. I'm just saying that if you're trying to get money, you need to know how to get it. You know how all that works. So, and that's what I do. Since my PhD's in finance, I thought about this stuff a lot. So the problem is that if you go to school and you go deep in debt to get a degree in a field that does not have some sort of strong industry with a strong financial backbone, chances are you're not going to get very much income, right? I know a lot of people I knew in school who were smarter than me, very smart people, work very, very hard, who are making nothing, who are making like $40,000 a year and went to school for like a decade, right? Like as long as a surgeon, right? This sister says, I'm in debt $250,000. Don't feel bad, Farron. A lot of us are. I was, I had $250,000 in student loan debt. You just, I realized that the only way for me to get out of that debt was to not spend my whole life working for other people. Now, I'm in finance, so the rules were a little different for me because in finance, the money's better. We started off, all our job offers were 6 figures. So we had plenty of money available. I could also eventually, if I wanted to go to the other side of being sort of this, this corporate Negro, I could have consulted with Wall Street, things like that, which wouldn't have worked for me because that's not really my spirit. I'm a Black man. I can't hide that very well. And so, but if I wanted to go that route, I probably could have made millions of dollars doing that. I have students that make millions of dollars on Wall Street right now. But I knew that in order for me to pay back that kind of debt, I had to have an economic opportunity that was really going to do that. If you are, if you're a person that goes into a field where there's no money in that field, then it's going to be hard for you to hit that kind of debt. So you got to sort of think about that. When you sign the dotted line, don't assume that an education is worth $100,000 just because it's a good school or just because it's it's prestigious or because you're going to have these credentials, because there's nothing magical about that degree that's going to lead to additional money. Nothing. Now somebody says he should be selling. What should I be selling? I don't know. I am selling that, actually. I'm selling you on the idea that you should invest in yourself and that you should understand how money works. When I was, do I know Ryan Swayze? No, I don't. I know Patrick Swayze, but he died. Do I shave my head once a day? Y'all asking those random questions, and y'all know my ADHD kicks in. I start answering the questions, and I'll forget what I was talking about. Um, but anyway, so my thing was, when I first got into academia, I knew I wanted financial security, and the way academics get financial security is through this thing called tenure, which guarantees you like a lifetime job. And so I went that route, but I realized I looked at the track record at the university I was teaching at, which was Syracuse, and I realized they had not given tenure to any black person in over 100 years in my field. They had never given tenure to a black man ever, and I was like, I don't want to risk my whole career on them deciding that I'm going to be the first black person they ever give the promotion to, because clearly they're sick in the head. Clearly there's something wrong with these people. Clearly there's some kind of racism going on that's causing this to happen. It's not sort of by chance. It's not because black people are stupid. We know that. So I said, I'm not putting my future in the hands of these people. That's the thing. I don't believe you should put. Oh, somebody says Ryan Swayze is flooding scope feeds. Oh, I don't know. I don't know who he is. If I see Ryan Swayze, I'll get rid of him. Um, and so I decided to become an entrepreneur as a backup plan, as a plan B, because I said, well, I mean, okay, all these professors around me are cooning so that they can get a chance to have financial security. Okay, so that means that if you sacrifice your soul, if you sell your soul and you remain quiet, then you're going to have a lifetime job. Okay, so I said, maybe there's an easier way for me to get the security without selling my soul. So I said, oh, well, if I just become an entrepreneur and learn how to make some money, then I don't have to do that. I can still be myself and still be okay, still put food in my refrigerator. Because that's the challenge that we're facing all as black people is we're all trying to solve the same problem. How do I just not get evicted? How do I just make sure that when Cousin Pookie and them calls and they need money, or my mama needs, a loan to pay the rent, that, I'm going to be able to help her out? How am I going to make sure that I can put food on the table, maybe go on a vacation every now and then, get a new car when I need one, not be destitute during retirement, etc. And if you solve that problem, then you're good. And that's the whole equation of life. That's the whole equation of life. Like in physics, they have this whole thing called the theory of everything. Like this equation that just sort of solves every problem. I don't know what that shit means exactly, to be honest with you. I watched I'm a science buff, so I watch a few documentaries on it. But you think about it, that's what life is. Life is like the theory of everything, in the sense that if you just figure out how to get what you need, then you're good, and then you can find your pathway to happiness. You take care of your basic needs, so you're then able to focus on doing something that matters, and that's it, So I personally believe that, well, I will say that the reason my position on college changed was not because I told people not to go to college. Some people misinterpret your words. They think that because you say everybody doesn't have to go to college, that I'm around preaching that everybody shouldn't go to college. Just like during the election, a lot of people were saying, well, you're telling black people not to vote. I said, no, I never told black people not to vote. I told them to think for themselves and make their own decision. That's what I told them to do. I told them to, think for yourself. Why would you be angry that I want black people to have freedom? Or do you want them to be enslaved again? Do you want them to be forced to do something they don't want to do? Is that what you want? Did you say their ancestors died for them to have freedom? Or did they die for them to be forced to do something else? Right? That wasn't what happened. So same thing is true with education. College. My belief is that everybody should be educated. But some people don't have to go to college to get what they need. A lot of the greatest entrepreneurs in history didn't go to college, but they were certainly educated. You can't tell me Bill Gates is not educated, or Mark Zuckerberg, who created Facebook. Right now Facebook banned me, but I respect Zuck. I mean, for what he built. You can't tell me he's not educated, right? So for you guys, make sure your children get educated. But that don't mean they always got to go to college. And before they go to college, they should learn how to start a business. If I could be king of the whole black community, that's what I would mandate. I'd be like, every black baby is going to learn how to start a business. In fact, you to learn how to dance or play sports or rap, you're going to have to get a license. You got to get a license to do all of that. And the way you get your license is you must pass the entrepreneurship and financial literacy certification exam. After that, you have to pass the Black History certification exam. You pass those two exams, you handled your business. Then after that, let me see you, let me see you drop it low. Do whatever you want to do. Whatever dance you want to do, we're going to cheer for you, because dancing is great. Dancing is a tremendous show of intelligence. It's a tremendous show of skill. It's part of our swag. It's part of what makes us special. But don't be teaching the baby how to twerk before she learns her ABCs and how to do math and how to start a business and how to understand how money works. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I saw a little baby in a diaper on you ever see those little things, those little gliders that are like skateboards people stand on, and it's weird, like they just stand on it and they lean a little bit and it glides them across the room. I saw this baby. This baby was like one in a diaper, and he was on a glider. I'm like, how does a baby do that on a glider? I can't. A hoverboard. That's what it's called. I can't do a hoverboard. I'm a grown ass man. My big ass be falling all over the furniture if I was on a hoverboard. But this little baby is like one, just hovering, and he was dancing and moving and all of that. And I'm like, wow, that child is a genius. And you've really put him through extensive training to have him know how to ride that damn hoverboard in his diaper. Why are you wasting his talent teaching him how to ride a damn hoverboard? Like why? Like can he get a job doing it? Can he like start a? I mean, like what can he do that is going to help him to succeed in life from what he's learned by riding that hoverboard at the age of one? I don't get it. I don't get it. You know. So you see our kids, they show genius all the time. We just misdirect the genius, and then we end up killing their opportunities and it becomes stupid. It becomes absolutely stupid. In case you're wondering why I was actually doing this scope today, it's because Facebook. I was going through my Facebook band, and like I was saying earlier, almost every black friend I know who's connected to us on any level is banned right now. And I think Facebook is changing their algorithm. They're blocking freedom of speech. They've decided that they just want to, they just want to, I guess, shut everything down. And Yvette Carnell, my friend, actually, Yvette and I don't agree, but we're very good friends. And she said that she thinks that Facebook is trying to become a business to business platform where they're trying to shut it down for regular people like mom and pop businesses and make it only available. Like they don't want it to be a platform for social activism, stuff like that. They just want it to be a platform to market products and things like that. So I personally think I'd be real curious to see how this works out for them because I don't see this really playing out well for them. I'm already looking for other platforms myself. I know other people are, and so and also in case you want to stay connected, in case you can't get us on Facebook, you can actually get a free e-copy of my book. It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar. Go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. That way we'll be connected for good. We have a lot of people on our list, so you'll always hear from me. You just may not always hear from me on Facebook. And don't forget, we have our Black Wealth Calendar, too. If you haven't got one of these yet, they have wealth building tips for every month. Every month has a theme, like June is retirement planning month. May is cash flow month. April's business plan month. And so each month there's like tips on each of these areas. And so your kids can kind of see this every day on the refrigerator. Your family can see it on the refrigerator. So it's like a great way for you to sort of incorporate wealth building into your day-to-day habits. So if you're interested, you can go to theblackwealthcalendar.com. That's theblackwealthcalendar.com. Let's see here. My email address. Somebody asked what's my email address. My email address is boyce@boycewatkins.com. That's boyce@boycewatkins.com. Feel free to email me, but just know there's a good chance I may not respond because I can't answer all my emails. But if you have business you want to pursue, make sure you read the autoresponder that you get back, because the autoresponder will tell you how to get in touch with my manager if you want me to come speak or if you want to do business. I do consultation, but it ain't for people who are not serious. Like it's not. The consultations have a price that's higher because if I'm talking to people one-on-one, we have to charge a higher price because my time's limited. I'd rather talk to large groups of people, right? So if you just have a basic question, you'd be better off taking a class or something like that. My students have a lot of access to me that way. But if you want one-on-one, you got a business that's really, serious like that, then feel free to reach out. Let's see here. If you bottle water for 10 and sell for $1, you bottled water for 10 and sell for $1, you've created 1,000% return on your money. Okay. A bottled water for 10 cents. Oh, yeah, I agree. I thought you said about $10. Have you tried the Morris platform? Not yet. I don't have an iPhone, so I can't do the Morris on my Android. I do have an app, actually, in case y'all curious. If you search for Dr. Boyce Watkins in either the Apple Store or the Android Store, you'll get the app. Let's see. Indie Girl says they banned a young woman I follow who speaks her mind. Yeah, I'm beginning to feel that Facebook is just not going to be the place for activism. It's just not a place to be honest. So what we started doing is we're moving heavily toward Twitter, stuff like that. What does my app do? Really, the main thing the app does is it notifies you when I put up videos and stuff like that. So that's something that the app does mainly. We're looking to create like an investing app, something like that. But right now we got so many other things going on. We don't have time to do everything. We're putting our tour together. And also, by the way, if you're a black man and you want to join our organization for Black men, please join blackmenunited.net. That's blackmenunited.net. We're building up the image of the Black man and teaching Black men what it means to be a man, and working with Black men to build a nation, to build strength in the community. So feel free to join us at blackmenunited.net. Yeah, I agree, Afro Zephyr, that this is all about the fake news stuff. I think that's what it's all about. How much is a calendar? I think it's about $20. Let's see here. Let me see. They put my friends who might play music in jail. Yeah. Well, my friend who runs what was that thing? According to Hip Hop, his name's Michael Dothard. His page had 300,000 fans, and they booted all that shit. I mean, they got rid of that just because they said that he committed copyright violations, but he had gotten permission from all the artists to put their videos on the page, but they still banned the whole page. So Facebook ain't playing. Facebook's getting kind of crazy. By the way, do this. Share this with your Twitter friends, or just hit the share button. If you're on YouTube and you get the share button, share it to your social media. Please feel free to share it. I would like for people to just know that it looks like Facebook is purging a lot of people, and they happen to be purging a lot of Black people. And this is interesting. This is structural racism, and let me explain. See, systematic racism is not just a white person who says, "I don't like you because you're Black." That's not systematic racism. That's just person-to-person type racism. Systematic racism is a disparity that exists within a system because of an imbalanced power structure between two ethnic groups that have divergent views of the world. So, for example, if all white people thought that the color green was good, and all Black people thought that the color brown was better, then every time you brought up brown, let's say the white people thought brown was demonic, just for whatever reason. You wore a brown shirt, that means that you're the devil. Well, then they would punish you for wearing a brown shirt, even though there's nothing inherently wrong with wearing a brown shirt. The reason they could punish you and you can't punish them is because structural racism created a power imbalance that allows them to impose their will on top of you. You've been imperialized. You're an imperialized group of people. So with Facebook, the reason the Facebook purge, is consistent with structural racism is because Facebook is banning anybody that uses any kind of what they call hate speech. So that means if you use the word nigger on your page, even if you're referencing Black history or talking about somebody who called you a nigger, they're going to ban you, even if you're Black. And even if you didn't try to insult anybody, even if you weren't engaged in any ounce of hate whatsoever, just like when I posted that article about Black history and how white people used to play the game Hit the Coon and used to throw the baseball at Black boys' heads. There's nothing wrong with that article. There's nothing wrong with that history. But I got banned for that. Because of structural racism. I can't walk up in Facebook because we don't have the power to do that. So Black folks can't walk up in Facebook and get them to change how they do things. Facebook is full of white people that get to decide how they want to run their platform, and it is what it is, right? So what has to occur, the way we can fight racism, the best way to fight racism for real is you must fight for power. The reason that you must fight for power is because when you fight for power, then you're correcting the imbalance, the inherent imbalance that exists due to structural racism. Structural racism means that when you are fighting racism as a Black person in America, you are not fighting against individual white people. Stop letting your feelings get hurt because they called you a name. That don't mean nothing. You're fighting a system. You're fighting their ancestors. You're fighting to remove the memory of everything their ancestors put in place so you can build a system that's better, or you build your own system, one or the other. You either correct the system that you're part of or you build your own. I think it's better to just build our own. That way we can start off with something clean that's not been tainted with the stench of white supremacy that has existed in this country for so many hundreds of years. So I want you to think about that for a minute. So understand, structural racism doesn't mean you can have structural racism when there's not a single racist in the room. The same way you could have a virus in a building after the sick person has walked out the door. You understand? If the sick person has been walking around the hallway spreading the bacteria everywhere and then they leave the building, well, the building is still going to be a place where you can get an infection. It's just that the infection is the remnants, the remainder of what the sick person left before they walked out. So the sickness is from the ancestors of these people. See, now I'm starting to understand why Facebook don't want me on. I bet it's a government thing too. Don't tell me they're not linked to the government. I really believe that there's a government connection there. But the fact is that the sickness and the mental illness comes from their ancestors. White folks who just hated you for no reason. I mean, here you are, you're a good person, you're a little girl, you just skip into the library and they want to call you a nigga and throw rocks at your head and all that. What kind of sick society, what kind of sick community would do something like that to an innocent child? blowing up babies and stuff. I mean, what sick people would do that, right? So you're dealing with some really sick, fucked up people, right? And they built this world you live in. They built this world you live in. So sick, fucked up people only have the capacity to build a sick, fucked up world. Seriously, that's what they built. Crazy people do crazy stuff. They built this society, and it's a crazy world because it was built by crazy people who were infected with the disease of racism and undeniable, inexplicable, unstoppable, unbelievable hatred toward black people. There you go. Structural racism in a nutshell. The album will be dropping next month, y'all. I'm dropping the mic. All right, guys, I gotta run. I gotta go handle some business. But don't forget, if you want to learn about our programs, to join our stock market class. And forgive me for the profanity, but just get used to it. Every now and then I cuss because I'm a human being. But I don't cuss in class when we talk about, unless I get real pumped up. But you can join our stock market investing class. You can go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. You can get a 30% discount on the program if you go there to blackfinancialliteracy.com. Our flashcards for children are at financialflashcards.com. That's financialflashcards.com. And if you want to, give me 1 second here. Hold on. Wait, gotta get rid of a troll. There we go. Had to go stomp a roach real quick. If you also want to check out the calendar and all this, in case you're wondering why we always mention our stuff, is because we are building a community with this. We're reinvesting the money right back into the community. All the initiatives, we're going all over the country, all over the world actually now, to promote Black economic empowerment, and that costs money. Every time I take my crew somewhere, it's $10,000. It takes for me to take everybody, and it's not easy, but we're going to get this done. So when you support us, you're supporting yourself, you're supporting the community. So, but at the same time, it's not charity. I don't do charity. It's something that will change your life. I guarantee you. You take a class from me, you will not be the same person when you're done. If you don't agree, then at the end of the month, you hit us up and say, I want my money back. This didn't work out for me, and we'll give you your money back. But we hardly ever have to do that because everybody knows what we're doing. If you don't believe me, ask a friend who's in our program. They're going to tell you good things. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Take care, and have an awesome day, and I love you, and I'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Peace.